Okay, class. Today we'll try to deal with the topic planning commission, its compositions, functions, and failures. Well, everything about planning commission. We'll try to deal something about the planning commission. So, what is the composition and roles and functions of the planning commission? Okay, composition means who are the one who is the members or the one who constitute this planning commission composition. Okay, so here prime minister, whoever is the present prime minister, is the person who act as the ex officio chairman of the planning commission. Please keep that in mind. Whoever becomes the prime minister, he will be acting as a ex officio chairman of the planning commission, followed by deputy chairman, who is usually from the background of the economist or a financial expert. And then this deputy chairman, he will be rank of a cabinet minister. Please keep that in mind. Deputy chairman is always usually elected from or selected from the person who is from the background of economics or financial experts. Now there is a secretary. Now planning commission, they have their own secretariat, and then it is headed by the secretary, joint secretary, and senior specialist, and also there is a chief of information and publicity. So these following are the composition of the planning commission in India. Now let's see their roles and functions. What they do, or what is their work? So their work is to make an assessment of the country's resources. Now they want to build something, some projects. They want to go with some projects, but if they make that project which is not capable by India, or which is out of the financial capacity of India, that means it's not going to be possible. So first of all, they have to make an assessment of the country resources, manpower to be involved in that particular plan which they are going to formulate. Then they will study, they will analyze those things, and then they will make a plan without knowing how much money they can government can expend, or the manpower which the government can exercise out for the formulation or for the achievement of the plan. If they don't assess those things first, then it's going to be a failure. So the first move is to make an assessment of the country resources and the strength of manpower before formulating any plan. The second one is the plan formulation. They formulate a plan. After assessing the resources and manpower, they will formulate a plan according to the manpower and the strength of resource of a country. And then they will make a plan, and then they will let it be approved by the National Development Council. We'll come to that in a later part of your explanation. National Development Council. So plan will be formulated, and then it will be sent for the approval from NDC, the National Development Council. And then it determines the priorities for various programs. Like even in our own home, we need a gas. Just for example, we need a gas. We need a clothing for our own survival. We need foods. We need a house. But here the priority means which one is firstly needed. Whether it's your gas should be firstly bought or whether you should first buy your rice, or whether you should go for your clothing first. Which one is important at present? That is the meaning of priority, showing the priority of the plan that is going to be executed. Like example here, I've told you, to develop agriculture may be more important than to set up a textile industry. So the country needs to develop agriculture. So the priority for the plan of the country should be to develop the agriculture first instead of setting up an textile industry. So that is meant by prioritization of the programs. Now they have a long-term strategy of development. Now definitely priorities, it exists in different programs and plans of the country. However, we should also know that there should be a long term. Like we are not just doing some funs, or we are not just going for some fun ride. So the government, this commission, they will look at, even though agriculture is the most important thing at a present time to be developed, but if their focus is only on agricultural development, then if they keep on producing only the agricultural things, and then if they stop producing any goods of your clothes or the clothes the country people should wear, the textile industry, then soon the country will be facing with the problem or shortage of the clothings. So in order to avoid this thing, they keep a long-term strategy of development, so that they make sure it does not hamper either socio-economic growth in the future by not concentrating only on the specific development alone. And then this is done in order to ensure a balanced growth in development of the various fields. So that is all about the composition, the roles and functions of the Planning Commission. Now the next one is, like I've told you, we are coming back to NDC, the National Development Council. Now what is this NDC? Let's see. This was set up in 1952, and then it consists of the representative of both the state and the government. Now who are they? Now please keep this in mind before we go further. This economy and social planning, it is placed under the concurrent list. Now there are three lists in Indian Constitution: the concurrent list, the state list, and the union list. Now these lists, the lists which are under the union list, only the union government can make law in those lists, like defense and all. And then there is a state list. There are some subjects in under the state list. Only the state government can make laws regarding those things, like house taxation in particular state. Only the state can make a law in that regard, something like that. But this economic and social planning is placed under the concurrent list, where both the state under this list, the subjects under this list can be decided or make a law upon by both the state and the union government. So this economic and social planning is placed under this concurrent list, so that it makes sure both union and the state government has equal right to make law regarding to that social and economic development. So please keep that in mind. Now what is the composition of NDC? Now, like in Planning Commission, the chairman of this PM is the chairman of this NDC also, like in Planning Commission. And the union ministers of all the cabinet rank are the part of NDC. Please keep that in mind. Union ministers of the cabinet rank also belongs to the member of National Development Council. CMs of the states and union territories where legislative assembly exists. Now those CMs, chief ministers of the states and union territories, are also part of this NDC. And then the lieutenant governor of the other union territories. Union territories are of two types, where there is governed by some union territories are governed by the chief minister, like the union territory of Delhi, where they have chief minister instead of lieutenant governor. But other, like Jammu and Kashmir, they have a governor. So even those governors are included under the members of the National Development Council, NDC. Deputy chairman and members of the Planning Commission. Now from here you can make a difference between this Planning Commission and the NDC. Now all the planning members of the Planning Commission and deputy chairman of the Planning Commission is also part of the National Development Council. That means National Development Council is the it is like the mother, and the Planning Commission is like the son of the NDC. Secretary of Planning Commission also act as the Secretary of National Development Council, NDC. So secretary remains the same here. Now let's see what is the roles and function of this NDC. The first one, it will lay the guidelines for the national plan. Now they will lay down these guidelines for the national plan. Now in order to make national plan, you should follow these guidelines. You should not go beyond this. You should not go beyond that. The guidelines are being set by the NDC. That is their first role and function. And then they will consider the plan drafted by the Planning Commission. Now Planning Commission is under National Development Council. And then the plans which was drafted by the Planning Commission will be verified, and then it will be approved by the National Development Council, NDCs. Then only it can be passed to the states. The third one is to mobilize the nation or resources of the nation for the target that was set. Now they want to set up, they want to construct one international highway in India. Now the role of this NDC is to make sure that adequate resources of the country are being sent to that area where the international highway is going to be set up. So they will try to mobilize the resources of the nation for the target which they have set, so that the target is not being failed, but it is going to be achieved and being successful. Okay, the fourth one is they keep on evaluating and keep watch if the plan formulated are being implemented or not by the states or the government. So they not only mobilize the resources of the nation for the target to be achieved, but they also make sure, they also keep watch of the plan which are being formulated are implemented or is being functioned properly or not. So that is another role of NDC. The fourth one is they will analyze the causes of failure. If the target fails, if the plan which they have drafted is a failure, it becomes a failure. If the target could not be achieved, then they are going to surely analyze the cause of its failure by the NDC, and then they are going to suggest some alternative means to achieve the target again. So that is another important role. So I think you are getting what the difference between the Planning Commission and the NDC. Now NDC will give a guideline to the Planning Commission, and then the Planning Commission will draft the plans of the country, and then it will be sent to NDC. The NDC will approve it, and then it will be sent to the states, and then NDC will make sure that the resources of the country are being mobilized in order to achieve the target plan which they have made. And also they will keep on watching if the plan they have drafted is being implemented or being followed or not. And then if there is a failure, the NDC will analyze the causes of the failure, and then they will try to suggest another new alternative ways. Now the last topic for today is an evaluation of the Planning Commission, the failures or the criticisms about the Planning Commission. Now the first one is agricultural and industrial growth did not work according to the plan, and it started having an adverse effect on the economy. So like we have mentioned here, industrial growth and agricultural growth, which were intended to be having a good effect on the country, it rather started having a negative impact, because we will follow in the next point why it did not. Okay, the second one is the land reforms. Like during the British time, they have a land system called the Zamindari system, road warri system, and all those things. Now what the government introduced was, they introduced a land reform in order to do away, or in order to abolish this Zamindari system, and then they want to make a selling of the land. But rich landlords, they were so cunning. Now what the government did was, they made a certain estimation. Now a family can own only 100 by 100 square feet of land, and then if they own more than 100 by 100, it will be taken away by the government, and then it will be given to the people who doesn't have a land. But when this was done, the rich zamindars, they started making like this. They divided their land into 100 by 100, something like that, which the estimation which the government has made. They will transfer all their land into in the name of their relatives. So now the government cannot do anything. So it was a failure. The land could not be taken away from the hands of the rich landlords or the zamindars by the government, because they made such a plan that it is not registered into their name, but it was registered into someone's name of their relatives. So this land reform was a big failure. The third one is industrialization, rapid industrialization. They wanted to build up a big industries so that the country will progress, but there was a big problem. Now in order to set up a big industries, or in order for rapid industrialization, they need to import good machines from other country, developed country, and then they have to pay a huge amount of money in order to set up those things, in order to bring those goods. And while doing that, on the other part, they neglected this agricultural sector. Now Indian people, their main focus or their main livelihood is agriculture. So when the government does not focus on their agricultural sector, they started lagging behind again. It affected the self-sufficiency, because there was no raw materials, or there was no foodstuffs for the people to even survive. So rapid industrialization brought two impact. That was, they have to import, and then they have to spend lots of money for getting machines from the developed countries. And then the second one is they neglected the agricultural sector, which adversely affected the self-sufficiency of the country. So that was it, the third problem, or the third criticism. Social justice, like we have discussed yesterday also, they wanted to aim for the reduction of poverty, but it remained just a dream, and I think it still is not successful in removing this social, or removing this poverty from India. Still we can see many people who are starving, or who are living under the poverty. The fifth one is expansion of the powers of the bureaucrats. Now here the problem is, because of this National Development Council or this Planning Commission, every according to the direction, this big industries and things, it was under the hand of the bureaucrats. And so when the state got into control, now when these things were controlled by the state, or all those bureaucrats who were under the employment of the government, the officers, they started misusing the powers. Since all the big industries were under the control of the state, now the powers in the officers' hand, it grow tremendously, and then they started misusing that. So there was inefficiency and inadequate administration because of the expansion of this bureaucrats' power. So this was another big failure of the Planning Commission. They did not succeed in bringing equality among the people. Rather, it gave more power to the officials or the bureaucrats, and then they started misusing their power and then mistreating the people instead of helping the people out. The sixth point is this Planning Commission, or this was known, it was even nicknamed as the Super Cabinet, because all the state were to function according to the plan that was formulated by the Planning Commission. So state was not given a much freedom to make a plan according to their own ways. Though we are facing this problem, the guidelines or the plan that was formulated by the public Planning Commission is in that way, so we can take up our own step to solve our own problems, something like that. Though the state of Nagaland is facing a huge problem in not having a big industries, but since the Planning Commission is asking all the state to focus on the agriculture sector, we have to do that. We don't have to focus on the setting up of industries, but we have to follow the rules of the Planning Commission, something like that. Just an example. So the authority of the state was reduced. It could not function by its own. Rather, it had to follow all the plans that has been set up by the Planning Commission. So this has become like reducing this Indian government into a unitary system rather than the federal system. There, it act like it is the sole power. There was no power for the state to function at all. So it became a unitary system rather than the federal form of government. So that was all about today. I hope you have understood. If there is no clarity or anything about the explanation and thing, you can please let me know. I'm ready to help you.